introversion and leadership. Does these two words connected scare you? This is exactly what my guest Elle and I will discuss today. I will just read here my notes about her so I can present herself. Elle is a writer, a mom of two kids, two cats also, and a lifelong learner. She is also a leadership development specialist and guide for heart-led, impact-driven entrepreneurs. I made a little bit of an introduction of you, but I always like that there's no one else better to talk about us than ourselves, right? So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about us before we go to the theme we bring today.
Certainly, for sure. I'm Elle. I'm a leadership development specialist and guide for solopreneurs and micro business owners. So what that means is that I focus on education and training of entrepreneurs in the online business space so that they can grow their heart-led, impact-driven business with clarity, with confidence, and all these good things. So my tagline, for want of a better word, is build the business owner to build the business. So it's all about the personal qualities required as a business owner, and I kind of encompass that all under the term entrepreneurial leadership. But it's personal development for entrepreneurs, mindset for entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurial leadership in the online space. So that's what I do.
Yes, and that's very aligned with what I bring also, and that's why we connected so well.
Absolutely.
Also.
Yeah.
And yes, it's so very important to develop ourselves. Mostly if we are in a serving mode, we need to develop ourselves so we can help the others. And leadership is a word that scares many introverts. You
Right. Yeah.
also with introverts, right?
Yes. I mean, I am definitely an introvert, 100% an introvert. And leadership, I've been back and forth a few times with myself about using the term leadership, because I know that certainly for me, when I first started my first business in the online space in 2016, leadership wasn't something that even occurred to me. It wasn't even on my radar that was any part of what I was doing. I just really wanted people to like and buy what I was providing, which at that time was eco-friendly stationery, which that was my first business. And leadership conjures up this image, I think, of the corporate world and having a team and managing people, or people in leadership positions that we maybe don't admire, or even if we do admire them, it doesn't feel like it has any kind of relation to being a solopreneur or a micro business owner. Maybe when you're sitting in your living room, as I am at the moment, and you may be working by yourself and it's just you and the cat, leadership isn't really a term that resonates, and I completely get that. But for me, leadership means sort of taking responsibility for the trajectory of your life and your business, and in doing so, that actually makes the whole process easier, because it's about leading yourself and leading your business, and recognizing that your business is a separate being, if you like, to who we are ourselves. And I think that very much helps with the separation of business results from how we feel about our own abilities and how we feel about how we look at ourselves. So I think definitely from a self-leading point of view, or leading yourself point of view, it's about decision making. It's about learning to trust yourself. It's about learning to trust your own decisions instead of looking around for all the information in the online space to say, this is how you grow a business, or this is how you grow a business. Because I don't know about you, but I just find the information available to us so overwhelming. And if I certainly have found myself, it's so easy to either get stuck because there's so many options for what we can do to take our business forward, or if you're not stuck, you're kind of trying all the things, and so it's just so completely overwhelming. And I've been between both the states, more than once. Sometimes I felt completely stuck and not known which way to turn, or sometimes I've been trying to do so much and just completely spinning my wheels or spinning myself in circles. And it's really taking back the agency, I suppose, in all the decisions, and running it through your own filter and your own discernment as to what is going to be right for me and my business. And it sounds, I know it sounds really simple, but I think because we're all different, and because we all come from different experiences, different personalities, different, every experience we've had to date, no two people are going to be exactly the same. So I think it's a very personal experience to build a business like we are building when maybe we're a personal brand and we're the face of the business, and we're maybe the only one, or just have one or two of a team. And I think it's a very personal thing. So we have to, I think, be grounded in our ability to make the decisions and take the actions that we need to take in line with our own desires for the business, in line with our own values for the business, in line with our, and so that's all part of what I would call building the business owner.
Yes, totally. And it's not one size fits all, never. You said that we are so different people, right? And there's, if a person says that this is the only way, they are lying.
I mean, I think, the way that I think about it is, I think everybody is right and well-meaning from their own perspective, because they are wanting to share what has worked for them. But what has worked for somebody else maybe wouldn't work for me or for you. What would work for you wouldn't necessarily work for me. And also it might not be the thing at that moment that is the right solution to the experience that you're having in your business at that point in time. So it's not necessarily that do this, do that, do the next thing doesn't have it, everything has value, but you have to be able to make the decisions based on where you are yourself in your business, what your own needs are, and so what you're needing to learn, or what you're needing to develop your mindset to enable you to take action on, that sort of thing. And that's where we have to very much take it from our own perspective and our own point of view to move forward.
Yes, totally. And you said perfectly that we need to be leaders of our business, of our life. But mostly for introverts, I see that they see the word leadership very attached with the boss word, and they are totally different things, right?
Absolutely.
And many don't see themselves as leaders, but in my comprehension, from the moment we are in service for others, we are showing the path. We are showing showing the leading, right? The lead. So we are leaders. We show the path to the other person. How do you work with your clients so they can position themselves, they can understand that they truly are the leaders, even if they are not outgoing, outspoken? Mostly introverts are not much that, but how do you make them see them as leaders?
That's a really good question. I don't personally feel that it's about whether you're introverted or whether you're extroverted, or any mixture of the two feelings or ways of being. I think leadership is the identity that you want to define for yourself, and the way that you show up in your business, and the way that you want your business to be in the world. I suppose that make that a little bit clearer. It's about, we are not the same as our business. Our business has things it needs us to do, whether we individually feel like it or not at any given point or time. You know, we need to be able to market our business. We need to be visible. We need to promote. We need to sell. And, you know, certainly for me, none of these things are things that are particularly comfortable for me as the individual. But I know that for me as the business owner, I need to be able to do it, but I need to also be able to do it in my own way. So it's making the decisions as to what is my own way for showing up, for sharing, for being visible, for promoting. And so it's cultivating that sort of leadership identity for myself, my own image of what a leader is, I suppose, because I grew up in the you know, my early and late teenage years were in the 1980s, and you know, the image of what an entrepreneur was back then when I was growing up, it was all the kind of men in suits that, you know, would maybe be in bars and drinking too much, and you know, maybe going to, I don't know, it was from the films really, that was my perception of it. Even though I wanted to have my own business, I didn't think that was something a sort of mold I could ever find my way into, because that just, you know, wasn't how I saw myself being. And I think that now we have so many more opportunities available to us to carve our own path, to create our own jobs, to build a business from all the things that we have experienced and all the interests that we have. I know that certainly from my perspective, for my training, I've brought all my experience from my background in sociology, all my experience from my background in HR, all my experience of personal development into the way that I have created my Build the Business Owner training. And so we can develop a leadership identity that resonates with us, that hasn't got anything to do with how we see it maybe portrayed in the films, or ways that we remember it from the past, or the ways that we see it in on the news or whatever. So I, when to go back to your actual question about how I work with people, I have foundational training principles that look at the difference between showing up as an entrepreneur and showing up as an employee, because we're all products of our experiences, we're all products of our environment, we're all products of the way that we have been socialized or raised in society. Sorry, that's a sociology background coming out, but we are trained to be good employees. We're trained to do the quote unquote right thing. We're trained to want to get praise for what we've done. We're trained to be going into a working environment and being shown what to do, and then our success in that environment is through doing it right, and that's how we maybe get a pay rise or whatever. But if we bring all that mentality into our business, no wonder we're then looking around the online space looking for the secret to growing a business, and we're susceptible to this is the right way to do it, or this is the right way to do it, or this is the right way to do it, because we're so used to there being steps to follow and someone to show us what to do. But that's not the way that business works. And so it's a different kettle of fish, really. So we look at the difference between an entrepreneurial and an employee mindset. And although I've said we're all different, we're all the same as well, because we're all human. We all have our human responses to things, the way that our brains work. We all have the need to be liked, the need to fit in, the need to be, the need to Yes, absolutely. So we look as well at the sort of how these biological or evolutionary responses that we have can hold us back in our business, coupled with the sort of social conditioning or social, you know, experiences. And then we look at things like visibility, promotion, sales, like I talked about, and the mindset underneath these these actions that we need to take in business, and how we actually build ourselves to be able to take these actions without them feeling wildly uncomfortable. Not to say that they never will, but you know, without it feeling like the sort of deal breaker it can do in the first instance. Because I remember when the first time I was posting online or I think it was in Facebook groups, I was literally sweating at the thought of doing it in case I offended somebody or somehow broke the Facebook group rules and got kicked out, and you know, upset the group owner and that sort of thing. And you know, there's reasons that we feel like that, but I think certainly at first my tendency was to kind of turn it back on myself and think, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not cut out for this. And you know, that's just not the case. You know, we can reframe our mindsets to support the actions that we need to take in business, and we look at what that means for each of us individually. We all have different activities that support us to feel better, to feel good in our business. So we look at the sort of healthy activities for each of us, whether that's journaling or walking in nature or whatever, you know, I call them personal success activities. So it's about defining what that means for each of us. So we, you know, we look at that from a training perspective, these sort of ideas, and then you know, the sort of mentoring support that goes alongside that. So yeah,
Yes,
that's what I do.
totally. Totally. Tell me a thing. Do you work with men and women, or just?
I it's I work with anybody. It's not I find that primarily it's women who have experienced some of the stuff that I talk about, because one of the things that from a societal conditioning and maybe a generational thing that I talk about the witch wound, and that tends to, you know, that again wasn't exclusively a gendered thing, but primarily was something that was experienced by women, that persecution
Yeah,
historically.
my question was to know if you notice a difference, mostly on the mindset between men and women, according to see themselves as leaders.
Um, Personally, I only have really experience of speaking with women about it. I would be absolutely open to men who resonate with the concept. So it's not something, but I haven't had that experience yet. But I will get back to you on that one.
Yeah, because but I work with women only, but from my experience, I feel that we were taught not to go after, right?
Yes,
The
yes,
kids, the men that are taught from young age to go after, to be a leader, and women know. And I believe that this also impacts how they show up, how they don't want to take other space, right?
yes,
And
yes, yeah,
I
absolutely.
wanted to know your opinion about that, because there are so many things that can hold us back from going out there and go after our dreams and our goals. And many times they are rooted
100%.
back then, right?
But one thing that I have found is just the acknowledgement of that, and the understanding that that's where it's come from, and that it's not a personal flaw in me. I've found that that has helped, because it's just something to learn, a different way of doing it. So I would look at that and think, well, okay, I'm not going to accept that as a truth about me and my abilities. So what do I need to do to reframe that, the way that that conditioning has impacted me? What do I need to do to reframe that in order to be able to take the action that I want to take in my business? So one thing that I talk about in terms of like confidence, I think my self-image, my perception of myself was that I wasn't a confident person. And so I had this kind of self-labeled lack, as I call it. I was, this was just something that I saw as, I'm not a confident person, therefore XYZ is hard for me. I won't be able to do this. And it's like, well, no, that confidence isn't something you either have or you haven't. Sometimes people have a tendency towards being more confident, or a tendency to not be confident. But instead of saying, I'm not a confident person, it's, I don't feel confident in XYZ situation. So what do I need to be able to do to be able to take the steps I need to take the action? So video was a great example of that for me. I mean, the idea of being on video, especially online, especially live, that was something that I just thought, I don't see how that's ever going to happen, really. So when I started, I thought, well, no, I want to get to the place where I will be able to do that. So I thought, well, what do I need to do? So initially I pre-recorded videos, but I pre-recorded them as live. So they weren't edited videos, but it just gave me that bit of comfort that I knew that I had that bit gap between recording them and posting them. And that was enough to give me the practice of actually doing the video. And then eventually I was more comfortable doing the videos. So I then started to get a bit bored with the kind of processing of it and waiting for it to have to upload, and so then I thought, well, I will try this live then, because then that'll take that bit of the workflow out of the picture. And so it was just sort of saying, well, rather than making myself wrong for not being able to press the live button there and then, it was like, well, how am I going to incrementally get myself to the situation where I can do it, because this is what I want to do and this is what would be good for my business. So and it's still not something that I think is really something that comes like hugely easily to me. I've been a bit nervous before coming on to speak with you today, but that's okay. Nerves are fine. It's okay. So yes, so that's my starting point. I don't I don't think, well, if this is going to be something that I want to do, or this is going to be something that's good for my business, I'm not going to accept it if my brain tells me, no, you're not up to that, you can't do that. That's not something that I'm going to leave there at that point. I'm going to say, well, thank you, brain, for trying to keep me safe and not have me feel nervous or feel disappointed or feel worried about doing this, but let's just see how we can make this work. And that's the way that I've found helpful to approach it.
Yes, I love it that you pointed out that confidence is not something we have. It's built, right? The more we do, the better we become. And stop searching or looking for the perfection.
Yeah, absolutely.
To improve, right? And I feel leadership a little bit like that also. It's a muscle. And the more we do, the better we become. I don't, in my vision, I don't believe that today we are not a leader, today we are, the next day we are. No, it's something that we build, right?
Yeah.
Mostly because at the beginning we need to define what we want to talk about, to whom we want to talk about, the impact we want to make in other people's lives. And this is a process. And even personal branding is personal brand. Establishing a personal brand is a process, because we change, our business adapts and change, and so does our leadership level, our confidence level, our
Yeah,
personal, right?
yeah, no, it's absolutely an ongoing activity. I mean, that's why I call it an ongoing priority business activity to work on your leadership development. And what I really mean by that is the recognizing these personal success activities and mindset work as legitimate business activities. And I remember the sort of relief that I felt when it dawned on me a few years ago. I mean, it's quite funny how long it took to dawn on me, but it did dawn on me a few years ago that actually that is as much of a business activity as the external stuff that we see as businessy. And it's definitely an ongoing process to keep working at that, because as for exactly the reasons that you've said, things change, we evolve and grow, we change, but some days you feel more confident and world facing ready than other days. Some days that you don't feel quite as um up for being out there. I've certainly found, and my kind of premise in my own brain for the work that I do is, I think it's one thing to feel quite energized or inspired or confident when you are, when you either have had a conversation with your coach, or you have listened to an Instagram live or a Facebook live, or you've taken a training and you feel quite upbeat. But that what I try to keep in my mind is for people to have the tools and practice for being able to get themselves to the place where they can take action on the day that they wake up with a cold, or they find they've got a flat tire in the car, or the cat's been sick in your shoe, or all these things that just make you think, oh, I'd just rather go back to my bed. But you can't, because your business needs you to take the actions to be visible, to promote, to sell. And so it's having the tools and the practice to get yourself to the position that you need to be in order to take that action. That's not to say that you push yourself in a situation where you would be better off resting, or it's about the self-awareness and self-knowledge to build the picture that you want to that you want to work in. So I'm not advocating that people push through. It's about taking the decision, and being able to stand firm in your own decision in your business, whichever that may be, whether it's pulling back a little or building yourself up to move forward a little, if that makes sense.
How to take action, how to take action to be a leader when we don't feel like it.
Right. Okay. I mean, I think that the slightly frustrating answer will probably be it depends, because it depends what resonates with you and what makes you feel good, and in that place that allows for action. So from my own perspective, I have my journaling routine, I have my spiritual practices, and they're what raise my vibration, for want of a better phrase, to the vibration that I want to act in my business, as that person. So I know that I need to believe that I am a confident person. And so if I wake up one morning and maybe I'm feeling hormonal or I'm not feeling well, it's like, well, no, you can do this. And so you've got the practices that make you feel good. I know for some people it's like listening to music and dancing around first thing in the morning, or maybe I would say, well, before I start this morning I need to go out for a walk, rather than sort of saying, well, I've got so much to do on my to-do list that I must get started. It's like, well, no, I'm not going to be doing it from the right place, the right vibration. If I do that, I will take the action to go out for the walk, or I will spend the time journaling, or I will do the dancing around the room, that's not my personal practice, but I know that it works for a lot of people, and that's the solution, I suppose, is to find what works for you and own it, or know that it's legitimate, recognize it as legitimate, because it's what works for you, and it that you know it's not
Yes.
a question of journaling because I say, oh, I journal for 20 minutes. It's not journaling because I journal. It's journaling because journaling works for you. And if journaling doesn't work for you, do a HIIT workout or meditate or or dance around the room. The dancing around the room doesn't work for me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's about what works for each individual. So does that
Yes,
answer your
totally.
question?
Yes, yes. And I was thinking about something you told previously,
Mm-hmm.
that in business we need to, I don't say go out of your comfort zone. I like to say enlarge, because
Yes,
it's not
yes,
a jump from 8 to 80, right?
yes, yes, yes.
We will
It's
get better at this. Now we
expand.
try other
Yes,
things.
yes,
It's
for
peeling
sure.
the
Mm-hmm.
onion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's enlarging our comfort zone. But we need to see what works for us. So how can we, because we you just told that the brain likes
Mm-hmm.
to keep us
Mm-hmm.
safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we know that it's the brain holding us back, right? Trying to keep us safe from doing that, or is that activity out of alignment with our essence? Because sometimes there's a small difference, right? And we can stop doing things that are not comfortable because we started to do it now, and once we don't excel at it, it's normal that we don't feel comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it happens with entrepreneurs, and I know it happened with me also, that we stopped doing things that if we continue, it will work. But we stop. How can we know if we are stopping because we are getting uncomfortable, and we let the brain lead and take us to the safe place, or if it's out of alignment?
Yes, that's a really good question, and I think there's two things that I would say from that. First of all, it's I think of alignment being very closely linked to values. So when you're acting in alignment, for me, it's you're acting according to your values, or the values that you want to demonstrate through your business. And so that's one part of the equation. And the actions that feel uncomfortable don't necessarily feel uncomfortable because they're not in alignment with your values. They just maybe feel uncomfortable because it is uncomfortable. I mean, it is uncomfortable to put ourselves out there for other people to comment on. That does feel uncomfortable. And I think the two things that come from that are practice and self-awareness, because if something is going to be in alignment with your values but just uncomfortable to try, then what I would do is I would try, because I know my brain's trying to keep me safe from disappointment and from hurt, but I also know that it's having that response because it's acting in the way that it used to act when there were saber-toothed tigers, and so it's magnifying the threat of disappointment and hurt into a danger, and it's just not. I mean, you can be embarrassed, you can be hurt, you can feel a bit silly, but that's okay. you will be okay. And if you are in a situation where you can practice so that you can get better, like you said, at taking the action, if it's in line with your values, then it's not out of alignment, would be my way of looking at it. If I was to do something that were to be out of alignment with my values, it wouldn't even enter my head to think about whether I was thinking about it from an uncomfortable point of view, or just not wanting to try it or whatever. It would stop there. It would be non-negotiable. I'm not bothered whether I'm scared or could get better at it or not. If it's not something that's in line with my values, then I won't do it. But if it is in line with my values and I'm scared, it'll be, well, that's okay, because the threat is not as problematic to me as the giving up on what it could do for my business would be to me. Now, that doesn't mean 24/7, 365 days a year. Some days the I just can't face it will get the better of you, and that's okay. It's not about perfection. It's about recognizing that generally you've got this. Generally it's okay. Generally you've got this. You don't have to be you've not failed in any way to not have it 365 24/7.
And you pointed, I wanted you to go there. You pointed about values, because yes, that's so important. And mostly when we are establishing our personal brand, many people, I see this a lot, many people define their values for the business. But our personal brand, it's not just about us, but it's very related about us. And we should not choose the values just because it looks good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you set that type of values, but then you are acting against your true values, it's very important to know your true values. So when you are doing things, you feel the alignment. Yes, not always will be comfortable, but it's so very important that
I just think,
right?
Yeah, I just think it's all complicated enough without having to pretend. I think it's hard enough to build a business without adding in an extra dimension of not being in alignment with your values. I don't know that I would find that I think when you're talking about the difference between personal values and business values, I think you can have personal values that don't impact on your business or aren't sort of necessarily relevant to your business. I'm not sure. I don't think it works the other way around, that you have business values that certainly for me don't come from a personal standpoint, because that's my whole thing, I suppose, about building the business owner, is I see business as very personal. My podcast is called Taking It Personally. I do see business as a personal thing, but the way that your personal values, the way you demonstrate them through your business, depends very much on what your business is there to do. I'm just sort of by way of example, I'm thinking that when I started my own business in 2016, my first business, and when I was leaving my 9-to-5 regular job, I wanted to make my life better by doing that. But one of the things I wanted to be sure of was to not make anybody else's life worse in the process. That was just something that I felt when I left my job. I thought, well, I want to do this for me, but I don't want it to take away from anybody else's sort of life experience or the world experience, whatever. And so the way that manifested itself in my stationery business was that I started an eco-friendly stationery business, and I was everything was you know, environmentally sound in terms of the packaging and the products. And I spent a lot of time and effort researching suppliers and all the rest of it, and how they're, you know, they're like the toners and inks and all that sort of thing, to get the knowledge, because that was how I was able to demonstrate that value through that business. That's not the way that I can demonstrate it through a service-based business. So the demonstrating your values, or having values in your business, is related to what your business is, I think, but it comes from, you know, my personal values. My business values come from that, I suppose, is what I'm
Yes, yes,
saying. Does
yes.
that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, it makes many people, again, don't see themselves as leaders, like that. Mostly introverts, they don't see that themselves. So what's your advice for them?
I think it's really about how do you want to approach your business? How do you want to show up for your business? Not, and that's deliberate. Not, I'm not saying how do you want to show up in your business. How do you want to show up for your business? And it's about the recognition of being different from your business, and that your business has needs, I guess, is a way to put it. I mean, I think I use the word leadership because I see our business as a vehicle for sharing a message, and having that ripple effect of positive difference, and creating something as women, you know, that where we have our own potential and our own income potential and all that sort of thing in our own hands. So I see it as an opportunity to create a version of leadership, if you like, that is based on the values that we hold. But, and that's why I call it leadership. But if people are getting incredibly hung up on the word and don't want to use that, then that's absolutely fine. I think it's just about having something that makes sure you're having a positive experience of building your business, so that you're not feeling stuck, so that you're not feeling overwhelmed, so that you're not feeling that you're not up to it just because in X, Y, or Z situation you're not confident. So I'm using the term leadership because it's a mindset, it's an approach to business, but I don't think it's something that is better done by an extrovert or better done by an introvert, or anything in between the two, you know, the two terms. I think it is a way of being a business owner. So I mean, I definitely, for sure, 100%, I'm an introvert, absolutely. And and I think it's about leading myself as to enable me to lead, to enable me to grow my business and do what it needs me to do. And so it's about my personal growth and my personal development. And it's, you know, it's I think it's part of the fun of having a business, to be able to grow myself in order to grow the business. Because when it comes to looking for, you know, what is it that puts me in a place that I can do the things that I want to do for my business, you know, I've learned so much about what works for me, what resonates with me, and all the you know, all the stuff that I've learned has been so enjoyable. It's so much fun. I think building the business owner to build the business is fun. So yeah, so I mean, I think if just to sort of say it again, that yeah, I have been back and forth about using the word leadership, but I wouldn't want that to put anybody off the idea behind it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
And
really just,
I believe, sorry.
no, I was just quite to say is, like, I'm really, you know, what my experience when I first came into the online space, when I feel like I kind of had everything back to front in terms of the way that I looked at mindset, and I wasn't prepared for it being such a personal growth experience. And what I do now really is to save people some of the time and hassle that I experienced. Because part of the point of having a business, I think, is to enjoy it and to create something that we want to work in, so in the longer term, sustainably. And for me, that's what it is. And I want to bring all my experience and interest and everything into my business and write my own job description, as it were. So this is what allows me to hang on and keep going.
And it's very related with the why, right?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Sorry, I didn't hear.
It's very related with our why, right?
Yes.
It's not that we do things to become a leader. It's because we are so deeply connected with our why, why we started the business, that not only we are passionate, but we, how do I say, we get a little bit cringy when we see other people's potential not being used, right? They holding themselves back, mostly if we already went through that journey and we know that it's possible for others.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that it's just really seeing the opportunities available for people in the online space. Some of the women that I have met in the online space, or that I look up to, and my mentors, I mean, they're just so incredible. And they, what they're doing in business, leveraging the opportunities that we have in the online space. I certainly know that in terms of how I wanted my what was important to me in terms of being around more, having more flexibility to be around for my kids, and my mum now, as she's getting older, to have the sort of flexibility to be able to take care of everything that's important to me. That flexibility just isn't in the structure of traditional employment. And so I think so many, again, it's women predominantly, and certainly in my experience, my personal experience, but from the people that I know and speak to and whatever in the online space, it's the feeling of either their potential is they're not fulfilling their potential because they're having to compromise in the workspace, or they are not being able to take care of the personal things that they want to take care of in order to be able to work within the structure of traditional employment. And I find that really really difficult. And that's why I think, well, look at the opportunities that are in the online space, and anything that I can do to help women or anyone who resonates with the business is personal, heart-led, impact-driven business, to be able to take the action they need to take to grow the business and fulfill their potential and live the lifestyle they want and be happy and all that good stuff, then I want to do that.
Yes, that's great. So tell us, how can we reach out to you? Where we can follow you?
Well, I'm on Instagram at Elle Turner _writer. So I would love to see anybody there. At the moment, I've offered a free month-long entrepreneur training. So there's still, I still want to keep that offer going for a little bit longer. So if anybody is interested, based on what I've said today, on hearing more, they're welcome to DM me entrepreneur training, and I'll get back to them with more information in a really no obligation, no pressure, no anything kind of way, just to give you the link to the information if you want it. So you can DM me on Instagram about that, or elleturner.me is my website. You can find out more about me there. Podcast, Taking It Personally, my podcast, and you're going to be a guest soon. So Taking It Personally is my podcast on your favorite podcast player. I think that's everything.
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much. It was so pleasant. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me on and for having me. And thank you to everybody who's listening to this this episode, either now or on replay. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And it's been so much fun. So thank you.
Thank you so much.